Hello. Just wanted to show you my drink. This is absolutely amazing. This is a watermelon, apple, and celery blend with ice cubes, and it is absolutely delicious. Incredible. I drink these all day long, and it is healing my bronchitis. Last night I made myself a blend with way too much horseradish because that kind of like it knocks you away, and because it has very strong, like etherical, volatile gases inside, kind of like garlic, but like radish, but like 100 times stronger, and it will hurt inside of the nostrils and like put the whole mouth on fire, but it is the ultimate lung healer. It heals also the nostrils and the entire digestive tract, the entire air ducts, all the air ducts, and every cell in the body. It's phenomenal. It's absolutely amazing what horseradish can do. Okay? And so I blended horseradish, I put too much horseradish in it. I put like this much in it, like a huge handful. That was too much, but I had to thin it down with water later on, and it burned the stomach a little bit. So if you eat too much at once, it can burn the stomach. But it's a good burning. It's not a burning where it can make you a little nauseated. That's like an initial reaction. But it's a good burning. It heals the entire intestinal tract, the stomach, the colon, the intestines, all of it. It brings it back to balance. It gets rid of all the parasites. It gets rid of molds, fungus, spores. It gets rid of any kind of pathogen that's in there or any kind of imbalance. So it totally balances all of it out naturally. And so next time I'm just going to put a little less horseradish in it tonight. And I was drinking this all night long, and like every time I went to the bathroom I drank some of that horseradish drink, and it felt so good. And it felt like every time I drank more of it, I felt better, and it's like you can feel the healing power of it, this tremendous healing power. I'm going to put my tablet into my tablet holder. This one is not finished yet, this entire sculpture here, so it's still in progress. But it's good for now. I just want to focus now on this big one, because the big one is almost finished. It just needs a couple of more touch-ups, and then I will be done. That's all it's required. And then also when I take the plates off, I have to go into around the corners, because I paint around the corners, because I love doing this. I buy styrofoam boards, and I love painting around the corners. It just makes it look so much better. So I'm going to put this in here. I'm going to put this over here so that I hope enough sunlight comes in. So nice light. I wished I had light from above also, because if I had light from above, like in a very large greenhouse, then I can see everything. I can see every little tiny particle on it. and that's much better to have that. But right now I don't have it. We're going to set up a very large tent greenhouse up at the other house in the garden, and I am planning on painting in there as well. So I'm going to try that out and see how that goes. Painting in a very large greenhouse. We have a greenhouse downstairs, also a tent one, but we have the jacuzzi in it and there's not much space left. That one is not that big. It's like 12 by 7 or something. And the other one is, I think it's 20 by 12 or something like that. It's all, it's a limited space. So my ultimate dream is to have a very large property of 100 acres and have like um, have like 10 acres covered with a dome, just just have it put over the meadow. Not cement, no cement foundation at all. The only, no, it doesn't even need a cement foundation around the side. It just needs a very nice, sturdy structure like the Getty Center has. Like this very thick frame. It's like this thick, a thick, very robust metal frame that is white and that will come down all the way down to the meadow ground, will weigh itself down. It won't even need to be bolted in, just weights because of its own weight. So it will just stand basically with its rim that is about this wide on the meadow, and then arch over the entire meadow with like a triple pane plexiglass, maybe bulletproof plexiglass if possible. That costs a lot of money, but I'm talking like visionary into the future, or for anyone who can afford it. That would be ideal to have that, to live in a biosphere, and you have a meadow that is enclosed. You have an enclosed garden, and then you can grow all kinds of fruit trees in there that are even tropical, and or avocado trees, for example, that would be very stressed out during the winter in a climate like this. So, you have a glass dome, it keeps a very steady, warm temperature in there all year round. And for the summertime, you can, it will have windows that can be opened manually, and have a cross ventilation going through. So that's very important. I don't know about the pollinators. You're probably gonna have to have windows without mosquito screens. I don't know. This One has to try these things out and see how it goes. What I do is we have a pond, like a swimming baby pool, like a real short baby pool, like this short and about this, kind of like, I don't know, 4 feet wide or something. And I keep, refilling it. I clean it, I refill it, and then I put a cup of diatomaceous earth into it, earth powder, food grade, and that makes the water a bit milky, but it keeps the water fresher, and it it cuts down into pieces every larvae that is put into it from a mosquito or from any other insect. So that's really, really powerful and amazing, and it is healthy for us, for dogs and humans. And I take it every day. We give it to Papa Dog every day. So a teaspoon a large teaspoon of diatomaceous earth food grade powder into mixed in with water, and then can be poured over the dog food. Make sure not to breathe this because it is abrasive, kind of sharp. I see the ocean. This is so incredibly gorgeous. I don't know if this is going to show, but I will see if it does. Just between these two trees over there, one can see from here. I don't have a zoom lens, but one can see from here the ocean, a piece of ocean between the trees. It is just gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And you can see mountains in the back behind the ocean, and also between the two trees there's still the arched harbor type of, like a gulf type of situation where you can still see land on the other side of this gulf. But the ocean this way goes all the way across to the Asian continent. So it's absolutely beautiful. Oh, it's so beautiful to see the ocean glittering in the sun from here. The camera is probably not going to show it, but it's okay, you know. And I prefer the trees over an ocean view. Most people don't, and that's very sad. I like the trees better. We need the trees, okay? The trees are more important than any view. Very important for me to say this. We need the trees. We need them to survive. We need they provide air and balance for us. Okay? Very, very important. You know, if you want an ocean view, you can move closer to the ocean then. So trees are more important, you know. So, but I enjoy every little bit of glimpse of the ocean that I get. Well, I'm grateful for everything, and we should be grateful for everything we have, wherever we are. And we should never miss out on the opportunity of being in nature. This is so important. This is more important than you can possibly imagine. Okay, it's more important than societies and bars and friend circles and this or that and whatever, you know, people are doing in their friend circles and societies and all of these events. It's all cool, but if it's not in nature, then to me personally, it doesn't have that much value. So, you know, for example, if someone gives a lot of lectures, you know, and they do that in a dark hotel lobby room, you know, like seminar room or something. What's the value in that? You know, you need to be out in the open. Jiddu Krishnamurti, he was talking out in the open. He was giving lectures, presentations. He didn't call it lectures. He called it talks. So he give his talks out under the trees in Ojai, California, at the Jiddu Krishnamurti Center, and people they'd be sitting on the grass around him. It's incredibly nice. It reminds me of those classical open air festivals they have in England. It's lovely, you know. That's how it should be done. We need to celebrate nature every way we can, yeah. In every way we can. It's very important. Outside, open air, you know. Open air activities, concerts, festivals, fests, parties, talks, discussions, philosophical meetings. It should all be happening in nature, not on a barren type of land or parking lot or what, but in nature, you know. bring this thing into nature. And there are so many beautiful nature situations, you know, public land situations where you can go and where you can have those events. So I don't know. I don't know. One probably has to have their own private property to do this. But you know, if you can do it, if you can arrange something like this, is so much better than. And I'm sure that there are people who would probably, you know, if they are a fan of this or that speaker or singer or musician, they would probably offer that too. They offer their acres for that. So you know, it's just a matter of calling around and finding out and talking to people. Not always take the next best thing that offers itself, but you know, shop around and not be so appeased in general with things, you know, with solutions or situations that are being offered from physicians or whatever, you know, professionals, experts, so-called experts. Become your own expert. That is what I'm saying. That's what I want to promote to the world. Become your own expert. This paint here is becoming very thick. I'm gonna have to put some water in it. Just doing a touch up here because I'm gonna put some water in it. I want to motivate people to take their lives into their own hands and not be so dependent anymore on experts or other people or whatever. The common knowledge. What does it mean, the common knowledge? Do we have to accept now what is announced by the scientific community as the common knowledge of today's era? So no, it doesn't mean very much actually. There are some people that are way, way more advanced than that common knowledge that has been accepted by the scientific community. It's infinite. It goes infinitely further. Things are going infinitely further than that what has been officially declared as the status quo of life on Earth. So that's why I encourage everyone to not be so quick to buy into the limitations that are presented to us by the scientific community or any community. And specifically not buy into a religion. That's very important because that's extremely limiting. Don't let yourselves be limited by anything. You are limitless. You have to keep that in mind. You have limitless potentials. Limitless potentials. If you just know that, if you just understand that fully, that you are an infinite powerhouse, then you would feel a lot better, and you would have a lot more confidence into your own healing abilities. And you would not rely so easily on others. You'd question things more and say, how do they come to those conclusions, or what makes them so sure that, whatever, this or that, And then later on, as time goes by, suddenly there is someone who completely regained his brain, after it had been injured or damaged or by whatever, alcoholism or injuries, and then later on they changed their lifestyle, they became healthy, and the brain was regenerating itself. So then they knew, oh, the brain has plasticity, During the 70s and 80s, they believed that the brain cannot regain. They believed, they were totally convinced of that. So then later they had to revise that. And so things are constantly being revised as time goes by. But why wait, is my question. Why wait until the scientific community catches on with it? So empower yourselves now. That is my message to the world. You are in charge of your life. And this also brings me to the next thing that I wanted to talk about. Self-empowerment. Who has the right to tell you that I don't even want to say it because it's so negative. Who has the right to say something unempowering to you? Calvin Klein has the right to say to me, you are ugly, Nicola, because you don't fit, you don't look like Kate Moss. So now you're ugly because you don't look like Kate Moss. And now you are doomed. You will never find love and blah, blah, blah. And that's basically what these people are saying to the world. If you don't look like Kate Moss or Kim Kardashian or, whoever, Claudia Schiffer and Beyonce, and if you don't look like them, then you're like doomed for life or something. Why don't you ask a much better question? Who are these people to dictate their beauty ideals to me? What if I don't agree with those? I mean, I happen to agree that Beyonce is stunning, but who are these people to dictate their beauty ideals to me? Who are they to say they are beautiful and you are not? I mean, that's incredible to say something like this. That's equal to bullying. But for some reason, they don't go to prison. They don't get criticized for that. People just take this as if they are gods, and they are not. They are certainly not those people. Most of them are stagnator souls. They do much damage to the world with what they're doing. You know, I'm talking about the fashion designers who bring this message across to the world. There are other fashion designers who are God level, like Vivienne Westwood, okay? And they do have a positive message for us. They say that we are all beautiful, equally much, that everyone is equally precious and equally beautiful and powerful. That is the message of Vivienne Westwood. Okay? And that's who we need to listen to. She's our friend, not the fashion designers who, who cause teenage girls to starve themselves to death. Those are not helping. The ones that put these self-images into your heads. It's images about Kate Moss and stuff like that. That's not, you know, who are they to say that that is noble or elegant? No, that is not noble and elegant. To be skin and bones and a drug addict is not noble and elegant. It's not sexually attractive either. Okay? You need to pay a little more attention because what is sexually attractive actually is sort of like it's a compass for us. It's actually a compass in terms of beauty, but people have ignored this. So they have lived a double life actually with this. You know, secretly, you know what they do? They take the chubbier chicks for their secret activities. And then they take the noble skinny skin and bones ones with the collarbones and take those to go to show off in public. And right there, it should tell us something loud and clear. The one thing is based on neuroticism, it's based on mental illness, okay, the skeleton. That's a mental illness image. It's a mental illness, ego, self-image of bragging and, you know, wanting to be something, wanting to be liked. And it's taken on a life on its own. So, you know, the thinner it gets, the more noble, but it's a real dangerous, that was a very, very dangerous development. Because now we're only dealing with ego alone, with nothing else anymore. And people died because of it. So then you look at the chubby girls, the chubbier girls. And of course there are also men who like really obese women. I find that also is neurotic, okay? That also comes from some form of mental illness because it's not healthy. If you are obese, that is not healthy. It causes heart failure. It causes all kinds of problems to be obese. So that's also neurotic. That comes from something else. That's a sort of, may even be a counter reaction of the mind, which I had fallen into myself actually. You know, my mother always you need to be thin, and so for me it's like I hated that. So I kind of counteracted it. You know, I wanted to be fat because of, just for that reason. So, but now I really realized that my health had suffered tremendously from being overweight. So I weighed about 230 pounds. maybe the heaviest was 240 pounds, something like that. Was the absolute heaviest I've ever been. So I have never been like really obese. Some people will call that obese. I don't know if I call it obese, but it is, I call it, I call it dangerously overweight, because it can, that can, and I'm 5'9", so I am not short, but it is still dangerously obese. Dangerously not obese, dangerously overweight. So it can cause heart failure, it can cause heart problems, and I know, I can tell because of my heartbeat going so fast, and like hypertension, high blood pressure, anxiety, and heart palpitations, and irregular heartbeat. And I've experienced all of that. And, where my face would get all pale, I would feel like I'm going to faint. This has been happening in recent months. And all of those, I don't need to see a doctor I'm quite informed about those types of symptoms. I have studied that on the internet, so I don't need to see a doctor to give me that diagnosis, because then it would be almost like, then it would feel psychologically even heavier, because then I will go, oh, the doctors told me this, now I'm doomed. No, I don't need it. Don't need someone to doom me. So I already know those symptoms. Now I know what to do. Yeah, it is very straightforward. I have to go raw. Fully raw. Okay, that's all there is to it. And yes, I am going to shed these pounds. And I have to tell you, I don't do this lightly. I don't do this. I don't shed these pounds voluntarily, because my mental illness is attached to it, and it's a defense mechanism for me, to be heavy. I feel like I am protected by my fat. I feel safer with it. There's all kinds of psychological things that are involved in this. So for me, it is not easy. It's been a very, very rocky struggle to get to this point where I finally surrendered to the raw and said, okay, this is it. I have no other choice. It's like I either go raw or I will have a heart attack. And then Paul was watching this infomercial by some kind of, they were trying to sell something, some kind of, I don't know what it was, but that guy, I think it was some kind of herbal, but there are also some herbal supplement sellers that are making a lot of money too, so not all of those are good. But that guy, he said, and it's not about herbal supplements that you pop like a capsule and then you're well. It doesn't work that way. Okay. You have to go raw, fully raw. That means you eat no more processed food. You don't even eat cooked potatoes. You eat only raw plants. Okay, that's all you eat. And there's a variety of plants out there that are so delicious. You will not miss anything. Okay, I'll get into this later. But anyway, this guy, he said that he's also a physician, and he said he's seen people have heart attacks, and he knows the symptoms of it, and people have reported on it because he used to do surgeries. And he said it is absolutely gruesome to have a heart attack. It is gruesome shock and pain for the body. the body goes into a convulsion. It is, it's like the entire chest is caving in, and the entire body gives out, and it is a tremendous shock. It's like, it's torture beyond imagination. And right there, I decided, okay, I'm not going in that direction. Okay? I don't want to experience this. I don't need to. I suffered enough in my life. Why should I end like this? I mean, kind of like, that's ridiculous. What's the point? The point of existing is not to suffer. Total needless suffering, just so that I can eat my candy. That is not worth it for it. A heart attack is so awful, or even the symptoms and the suffering that leads up to it. And I've already been through this suffering now. This, having no energy at all, and just dragging my way through the day, and dragging myself up the stairs. And why? What's the point? Just to have some pleasure with candy or some shitty animal products and stuff like this that clog up our arteries? I don't. What's the point in this? In this short-lived pleasure, there is no point in it at all. None. So the only path is to go fully raw, and the sooner you start, the better the more joyful and pleasurable and happy your life will be. So you don't need to wait until you get to be 53 like me and be overweight and suffer a whole lot. And it's not like you live a real happy life and then suddenly it's your 53rd birthday and suddenly you get sick. No, you get sick much before that. You get sick at age 30. It picks up gradually. Do you want to go through this? That's my question to you. Or do you want to be inspired by Raw Food Christina, John Kohler, Matt Monarch, and Angela Stokes, and other amazing people? I would much rather be inspired by those amazing people. And even though it goes against my personal psychological conditioning, that I prefer to be chubby, I would rather not suffer. I really, really would rather not suffer. So I kind of like made friends now with with that prospect of losing all that weight. I'm afraid of it. I'm afraid what it will bring up, what kind of emotions it will bring up. It might even bring up sexual abuse. I'm ready for it because that's still better than a heart attack. So bringing unconscious things from the past into your consciousness is a wonderful process. It's not scary. It looks scary on first glance, but it's not. It's much better when all that murky stuff comes to the surface and is processed into awareness and knowledge than being floating around in the unconscious, poking up here and there in out of its, like, where it creates a situation that is uncomfortable, where it's unconscious and we react suddenly inappropriately or in a much drastic way, where we are surprised about it ourselves. And where did this feeling come from? Where did that come from? Why am I reacting to this suddenly in this situation? And it happens because the unconscious can get triggered very easily by the present moment. Okay. And then we're very surprised about our own reactions, and it can even sever relationships. So it's better if this stuff comes to the surface and if it becomes integrated into knowledge instead of having it float around and do mischief with our daily emotional lives and our relationships and so on. So when things come up to the surface, we need to not be afraid. We need to accept that. We need to embrace that and say, this is my opportunity now to heal this thing that had been lingering and bothering me and spooking around. So when it comes to the surface and we can give it a name and we can see it for what it is, then it no longer is that scary, awful thing that the consciousness is trying to keep unconscious. And it's the ego that keeps that unconscious, because the ego is our psychological defense mechanism. Ego wants to keep this all unconscious, because ego has taken on a life on its own, and even though it's an abstract mechanism, it's an energetic thing. Okay. And it wants to keep on going because it thinks that we need it. But we don't need it anymore. Well, we don't even need to be defensive at all anymore if we have healed our emotional problems. So then we're one with all of this. There's no need to be defensive at all. And the ego is afraid of that, because then the ego is no longer needed. So the ego will try to keep, it's very tricky, the ego is very smart in trying to keep the situation going to where, to make the organism think it needs the ego. And the self-images, and, all of these additional sandcastles that have been built around the pain to counteract that pain from childhood, to counteract that feeling of being puny and being meek and being weak and whatever, So we build all kinds of sandcastle structures around it in form of self-images, in form of, whatever people do. But they become bodybuilders because they want to counterbalance that feeling of being weak and being a beaten down little boy or girl. So in men it is particularly severe because of this men image that has become globalized. And it's just a lie. We can heal our psychological wounds. There is no need for sexism anymore, for any of these things that are so adverse, that just keep on perpetuating the battle and the hurt between the genders and between people in general. Look at the tablet into the lower shelf. Maybe this is bit here. So, okay. This painting is almost done. I'm just doing the last touches, and it feels real good. It feels real awesome that I'm getting this finished now. It's fantastic. I'm just gonna let the video run its course and it will turn itself off. When the sun shines, then I can see whether the paint has been covering all of the styrofoam. I can see the little lighter shades in between, and I can see whether my former applications have completely saturated above the styrofoam. And it doesn't matter if it doesn't matter if you can still see styrofoam patina, styrofoam indentations. That doesn't matter. That makes it look nice, actually. It makes it look nicer even. So what matters to me is to have a nice saturated paint layer on top. And that means, since I am working with indoor acrylic decorating paint from the hardware store, because they are wonderful, they're glossy, they're thick, they also thicken after a while, so by themselves, and they're cheaper. So, but working with those, I have to use several applications, and I don't mind. It's good. It's a wonderful thing. And depending on the color, sometimes when I use yellow, for example, I have to use like 30 applications, 30 layers of it to make it really full and saturated. When I use nail polish, I use 3 applications. I like it saturated. So for me, as you can see in my videos, it takes me a very, very long time to complete a painting. I'm not a quick painter like so many other people are. I'm not saying that their art is less valid. Their art is equally valid. I'm just saying that I put a lot of time into my work. A lot of time, a lot of emotion, a lot of tears go into this, because often when I paint, stuff comes up and I cry my way through and I paint my way through it, and that's good. And I personally just like to see my artwork having very saturated layers. I enjoy looking at it. So, and I also want to talk about this thing of, it all ties in with one another. I want to talk about this phenomenon of caving into others versus staying where you are. I talked to my brother about this in email form, and to me it's become so crystal clear, all of this, that it's become more crystal clear than ever before. I am an awkward person. I am shy, I'm awkward, I feel uncomfortable often, I can already hear the voices in my head of people bullying me, when I talk or when I say something, and they'll say to me, they'll say very mean things like, I don't know what to think of you, whether I find you cute or super annoying. Those kind of things people have said to me, and I don't see the point in these people saying these things. What actually is the point in saying something like this to someone? Is that supposed to make someone feel really rotten? Or so yeah, it is. Why do people bully? And do they feel better about themselves when they do it? Is this some kind of like self-esteem boosting? But it doesn't work. It's not a solution though, because it doesn't work. It's like a drug addiction, because it's a dopamine addiction. And then it doesn't work anymore. Then they have to resort to harsher methods, and it just doesn't go in the right direction, because it's empty. It doesn't provide them with real empowerment. It's an empty, false power. The real empowerment comes, and this is so important for me to say and to realize, the real empowerment comes when I say no to someone. When someone says to me, you should put your table up over here instead of over there, and I say no, that is real empowerment. Okay. I don't holler at them, I don't yell at them, I don't say some F word, I'm friendly, but I say no. That's empowerment. Okay. To say no. Not unreasonably, of course, when your help is needed and someone is suffering and someone is in need of help, yes, you should get up, not because someone tells you, but because you want to, because you want to help that other person. That's a different story. But when someone comes up to you and let's say you put up your garden lounge chair somewhere at a swimming pool, okay? And someone comes up to you, and that's your own house, or let's say it's a neutral public place, okay? And someone comes up to you who is not the owner of that place, who's just like you visiting there. And someone comes up to you and demands from you to move your lounge chair somewhere else because they want to sit there. You have to say no. And that is truly empowering, okay? Truly empowering. And you lean back with your watermelon and ice. You lean back, you drink your watermelon blend, you breathe. I'm not supposed to laugh because then my bronchitis comes up. So you lean back and you let that person stand there boiling, and that's empowerment. Yeah, he can go somewhere else. He can stay there boiling with a red face. It's his business, not yours. You're not responsible for him being angry or whatever his entitlements, problems. You're not responsible for them. But you're responsible for yourself, for your boundaries. You're responsible for your own body to say no to someone. And that's empowerment. I read somewhere recently where they said that the richest people in the world, the most successful people in the world, most of the time, like 95% of the time, they say no. You don't become successful if you say yes to everyone. That also applies to world peace. We don't become, the world doesn't become peaceful if we give in to everything, to every atrocity that's happening in the world. Give into it and have some kind of politically correct excuse for it. That's not successful. That doesn't lead to world peace. What leads to world peace is to show your boundaries, to say here and not further. And if you go any further, then I'm going to, I'm going to show you my boundaries. Okay, that's empowerment. And then to be friendly and say, if you're willing to talk to me, then we can talk. Okay, and we can be nice to each other. I can even pat your back to show my appreciation, not dominance, to show my appreciation that you came forth and we had the opportunity now on neutral ground to negotiate and talk. That brings us to world peace. Someone like this deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. Okay? Not someone who brings criminals into the country. Not someone who takes your tax money and your collective land and gives it away to someone who is violent. That's not bringing world peace to the world. But to stand up for your family, your country, in a way of, not in a nationalistic sense, but in a way of saying, this is the country where I live and I don't want to have violence in it. Okay, so in that sense, to say we can talk, we can talk things through in peace. Let's make peace. Let's all get together and make peace. All the people worldwide. Because that's how we get to peace. And Donald Trump has done that. And if I'm the only one who recognizes this, then I'm going to be saying this now in this video. If no one else dares to say it. And also, before we buy into something that is presented to us by media, we need to, again, it's a boundary thing. We need to say, wait a minute. Why are they saying this? What are their reasons for saying this? Instead of buying into it and saying, oh, my buddies, they all agree with that, I better agree with it too. So that way my buddies don't leave me. That way I don't alienate my friends. That's not how we work. That's not how we establish our personal boundaries. I don't want my tax money to be spent on weapons and on war and on nationalism and on giving it away to other countries or people who are violent, or that's not respectful to one's collective boundaries. All of this is very important that people get into this. Very important. You shape this world, people. You, every one of you. If you give into this, if you cave into it, the media, and you let the media shame you into this, hold the other cheek, we don't want to be looking stupid and blah, 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 then you make yourself responsible too for the wrong dictator to come in. Do you want this? Do you want to wear a hijab? Do you want to wear a burqa and be, or a chador. Do you want that? Do you want this, people? Do you want it? Do you feminists want that? That's my question to you. Or do you have the courage right now to think for yourself, not on a platform of liberalism or this or that society or fad, but think for yourselves. Yeah. Do you have the courage for that, to think for yourselves, not as a group, but think for yourself? I often see in YouTube comments, I see people saying, those animal rights people, you know, they treat animal rights people, they treat that they see it like a cult. They think we're some kind of collective or something, because that's the only way they think. They're belonging to a religion, that's their collective. So then they automatically conclude, the animal rights people, they must be all in cahoots, or they must be all the same. They all look the same. They all belong to this cult or something. Completely wrong. We animal rights people, we don't even know each other. Okay? We don't even meet each other. Sometimes we come across each other and we give each other a hug, but that's all. And we are so diverse. It doesn't get any more diverse. Okay, we are coming from every age range you can imagine. We are between 5 years old and 100. Okay, we are hippies, we are rich people, we are poor, we're philosophers, we're uneducated, we come from all walks of life, okay? From any kind of group, any ethnic group, any kind of religion, even any kind of thought school. The diversity is huge among us, and we are not like we, us against, or we. No, each person is alone, thinking for themselves, feeling, crying for the animals, and doing something. It's not like I belong now to the animal rights movement. That's not what this is about. It's not a religion. This has nothing to do with pride. It has to do with compassion. You know, I suffer, I feel for the animals, and I do something about it. It's as simple as that. And I want you all to do it, every one of you. And you're not going to get something for it. You're not going to get rewarded for it. Quite the opposite. You know, we live in a very ego-centered world, very commerce-driven world, corporate-driven. We're not going to get rewarded for this. We're going to actually get penalized for it. We get penalized for caring, because the corporations, they don't want to give up their iron grip on. They want to continue their horrible, horrible commerce. I don't even want to say it, you know, like they don't want to give up their animal exploitation and the products that are the suffering products that come out of it. I don't even want to say it. I don't even want to. Then I start crying again. They don't want to give up that profit. So they hate us. So they slander us. And people then, the public then reads that on the news. News outlets are paid by the corporations. No one questions them. No one questions them. No one puts this A and B together. The news are in control by the corporate agenda. They tell them what to write about and how to word themselves and how to present it and what kind of rhetoric to use and what kind of psychological body language to use to trick and shame people into not liking animal rights activists. But the majority of people they don't see it. They are taken hook, line, and sinker by it. They fall for it, They think that is their society. They need to cater to that society, and that's why I say to you, we need to start even underneath that. We need to start at ground zero with this, and that means you have to understand that you have to be where you are. You have to have your lounge chair where you put it, and not where someone else tells you to put it. And that same thing, this is just an analogy, the same thing applies to mind. Okay? When you care about an animal and you feel compassion for an animal, and someone comes along and says you shouldn't care for the animal, you should put your lounge chair somewhere else, but your lounge chair is standing at the right place because you feel it is, because you feel the compassion. Compassion is always right. But then a lot of people cave into that other person saying, you should put your lounge chair somewhere else. They cave into it. They cave into it for so many different reasons. My mother is a perfect example for that. All her entire life. Society, what shall people think? And you need to wear this instead of that. What shall the people think? The people. But shall always caving into society, never listening to her inner voice. And so my message to you is, don't make that mistake. Don't cave into what someone else says, or if a father says to you, man up, don't listen to him. He's coming from neurosis. That's ego. That's his self-image that he projects onto you. That's neurotic. That's not real. Where you are, little boy, 5 years old, caring for the baby seals in Newfoundland, where you are right now, caring for them, you are right. Okay? You are right about this. And it's good of you, that's kind of you to feel that compassion. Stay with that. Keep your lounge chair where you put it and say no to that other person. Even if it's your dad or the Pope or Mother Teresa or the president.